Hello and a warm welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel, and not just a warm welcome to the channel but also a warm welcome to the flat season. We're finally here. It's time to talk about the stalls, the draws, all of the speedy horses out there. Don't worry, the jumps will come back for Aintree and Punchestown, but the flat is where we're focused now with this special video, which is our anti-post bets video, and we'll obviously have our Lincoln preview video coming out tomorrow or the day after. That'll come out Friday morning. So yeah, it's all about the flat this week. And Jack, it's a special time of the year for us. I mean, we both love the jumps, but when the flat does start, we do get really hyped for it, and we're looking forward to it this year.
Yeah, I thought Meydan, the Dubai World Cup meeting, was a perfect kind of aperitif to the flat season. I thought it was a great kind of switch. Of course, you still got Aintree to go where we can watch a Roy Senior in the Betway Bowl. I was tempted to put him in one of my flat anti-post selections as he's coming after, but I thought, no, I ought to not do that. But no, I'm really looking forward to get stuck into it. I know we got a few good prices and hopefully be able to pick up a win or two.
Yeah, we'll quickly mention, we want this video to be short, but let's just quickly mention, because it has to be discussed, is Danon Beluga in the Dubai turf. Do we talk about this?
No, I think he'll get his day in the sun. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, Jack and I have now started the petition to get him to the UK for Royal Ascot, hoping that he runs in the Prince of Wales' stakes. Danon Beluga, the petition to bring him to Royal Ascot. We will get redemption with that horse. The best horse did not win that race, but fair play to Lord North. He was very good, and he's a bit of a legend. Three-time winner of the Dubai turf. So yeah, Danon Beluga will get the redemption one day. Let's get into this video then. 5 anti-post bets. We're going to run through them nice and quick. Jack, we'll start with you. These aren't in any order, by the way. These are just 5 anti-post bets. There's no order of kind of top 5. So, Jack, who is your first that you're putting up?
As you said, good video is a quick video, Quick video is a good video. The first one's going to be Coltrane at 8-1 for the Ascot Gold Cup. Thought he went from strength to strength last year. Of course, he won the Ascot Stakes over 2.5 miles, off a mark of 98, then hacked up in the Coral Marathon. He outstayed Trushan at Doncaster and nearly confirmed that form. Of course, on Champions Day. So he stays the marathon trip. He's still only 6. And I think he's probably confirmed to go there. So I reckon 8-1 about Coltrane's not a bad price.
Okay, 8-1 for Coltrane. Yeah, I'm actually going to take you on in the same race, the Ascot Gold Cup, with Mojo Star at 10-1. I think Jack actually put this horse up for each way for the Ascot Gold Cup last season. He ran a mighty race, finishing second behind who knew how good this horse would be, but Kyprios, who this week has been not confirmed that he'd be out, but very, very unlikely that he's going to be running in this race. And I suppose that's the reason I'm kind of looking for some early value in this market. If he doesn't turn up, this becomes a very open race. I know Trushan's an absolute worry, but he's getting older and he's reliant on ground. I'd be very surprised, actually, if he's going to be up to this level this season. I think he might just be off it now, but we'll wait and see. But Mojo Star for Ammo Racing, they've secured the services of Kevin Stott, a massive jockey book in that for them. Like, that he is a top rider, and I'm sure he's in for a massive season. June, this could be a big Royal Ascot with him, with Ammo Racing, especially with some of their 2-year-olds that we've started to see already. But we haven't seen Mojo Star since the Ascot Gold Cup last year. He did have a few setbacks, but if he does come back to a level of form that he was showing last year, and if he does improve on that, then he's definitely going to be bang there. I think 10-1 for the Ascot Gold Cup is far too big. Jack, taking each other on for the first selection, who do you like with the second?
The second one's going to come in Royal Ascot, the Prince of Wales. There's a few bookmakers who have priced it up now. Hopefully Danon Beluga will go there, but my Prospero, I think, will definitely go there. I'd say he's probably about 80% that he's going to go there, and he's currently 12-1. I thought he had a quiet season, although he was third in the Champions Stakes. I thought he did have somewhat of a quiet season, but I thought he was a serious improver. Got the better of Reach for the Moon and Aku Najla at Sandown. Then went out to France and beat Zagre, of course, was third in the Shima Classic last time out, behind Equinox, Air and Westover. So, and yeah, he was third in the Champions Stakes, but it was an odd race because I still don't think he gave a best of his ability. He was a little bit keen early, looked like he was a little bit squeezed for him, still a little bit immature as a 3-year-old in between Adeo and Baybridge, got switched left, was staying on at the line. Of course, he's a half brother to My Oberon, who was only beaten 3 lengths in this. Wasn't a very good renewal, I don't think, which Love won, but I think he's a lot better than his half sibling, and if he is a lot better, I think 12-1 come the day. I think they're going to step Baybridge up to 1.5 miles, and 12-1 about My Prospero for the Prince of Wales could look good.
I can only agree with that selection, Jack, and at the end of this video we'll be giving a horse to follow for the season, and it'll be interesting to see who I put up as that horse. But yeah, My Prospero is going to be very, very exciting this year. My second selection comes from France. We know I like my international racing. It comes in the Prix Diane, the French Oaks, as people might know it, and it's Blue Rose Sen for the Christopher Headyard. She's currently 10-1 for the race. She was absolutely destructive in the Prix Marcel Boussac on Arc weekend. I put her up and had some confidence in her as well that weekend. She was very, very good. good. We've got to remember this was kind of Christopher Head's first big global stage perform. I know he had Sabila Spain, who was a superstar for the stable. She came to Ascot, and unfortunately she wasn't able to run due to banging her heads on the stalls, and she wasn't, right at Newmarket. The race wasn't run to suit. But I think this horse could be very special. I know Christopher Head has a lot of faith in this horse. She's about 6-5-1 for the French 1,000 guineas, but she's a very good price for the French Oaks. She's by Churchill, so look, 10 furlongs. We've got to remember that the French Oaks is 2 furlongs less than the English equivalent. I just think that this horse is going to really appreciate 10 furlongs. I think 10-1's a really fair price, but I think she could go close in the French 1,000 guineas as well. So 10-1 Blue Rose Scent for the Prix d'Anne. Jack, your third selection.
Third one's going to come in the Arc, of course. It's going to be Bay Bridge. Now, a lot of people will probably say this is more heart over head because I love Bay Bridge. Good old Bay Bridge propaganda was out in full force last year. But look, I think we learned one thing in the Champion Stakes, and that is he does handle a bit of give in the ground, and he's going to stay and stay and stay. I mean, he was still pulling Ryan Moore's arms off when he was trying to pull him up after the line. But I think that's what we did find out. I mean, he's a half-brother to Natalina, who won over 1.5 miles up to 2 miles. So I do think he's a stayer. I think in 1.5 miles shouldn't be any problem. I do think he's top class. With a bit of give in the ground, I think over the 1.5 miles in the Arc, I don't think he can be overlooked, and he's 20-1.
Never give up with that horse, Jack. Never give up. He did provide you a lovely day on Champions Day, and he could be just as exciting this season. My third selection actually comes from the US, and it's in the Kentucky Derby, and it's a horse that actually won at the weekend, and it's Derma Sotogake, who won the UAE Derby out in Meydan in some style at the weekend. He was really impressive. I think the best thing about the interview after that race was that the owner and trainer were just immediately like, yes, we're heading to America. We're there to take on the Americans for the Kentucky Derby. Like I say, 16-1 for the race. Now, Forte is the 3-1 favourite and probably a worthy favourite at the top of the market there. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile on the dirt in November, beating Cave Rock, who looked an absolute machine before going into that race. And I was actually just sitting there having a cup of tea watching stateside, and actually watched him win the Fountain of Youth Stakes at Gulfstream Park earlier this month, and he was really impressive in that. So he does set the standard, but if Derma Sotogake goes to Churchill Downs and make it there, I think 16-1 is more than fair. He'd probably try and make all again, and he'd play a catch me if you can game, and we know this whole Japanese domination and what they can do, and I just think that it's a very open race behind the favourite. So 16-1 about Derma Sotogake for the Kentucky Derby would be a selection that'll be running early May. I think it actually comes on Guineas Day, 2000 Guineas Day this year, the Kentucky Derby. Jack, your fourth selection.
Fourth selection is going to be the shortest price selection I've got, which is quite an interesting one. It's going to be Silver Knot at 4-1 for the French 2,000 guineas, trying to take the same route as Modern Games. And I think the doubts about the ground were quite similar to Modern Games. Of course, he hacked up in the Solario Stakes. Supposedly he didn't like the ground in the Champagne Stakes, but I don't think his pedigree suggests that. Of course, he cost 725 grand. He's out of God Given, who won, albeit a mediocre Grade 1 in Italy. It was a Grade 1 in Italy on heavy ground. She was a half to postponed. Of course, won a King George and Coronation Cup with Give underfoot. So I think he's classy, and I do think he was marginally better than Victoria Road in the Breeders' Cup. He perhaps was a tad unlucky, but I think they'll both probably have another ding-dong battle. But I'd say he's probably perhaps more miler than Victoria Road, and he looked a little bit more forward last year. So hopefully he'll be able to go close at 4-1 for the French 2,000 guineas.
There you go, Silver Knot, a very exciting three-year-old for the Charlie Appleby stable. My next selection will be August Rodin. Now, a lot of people will be expecting me to put this horse up for the Derby. I know Jack actually put it up at 11-4 on his Twitter for the Derby and gave it a big mention. But I think 16-1 about this horse for the Arc may be worth taking. It sounds like he could be a superstar, and we all dream of that during the flat season. If Aidan has one for the Triple Crown, all he said is this would be the one, basically. I took a little bit of the 28-1 around for him for the Triple Crown, only a small bet. But look, if he goes and wins the Derby, then of course Aidan will have the Arc in mind. It always happens with Derby winners. That's a kind of a long-term target after winning a Derby. I just think that, he's going to appreciate the soft ground, and he'll appreciate probably good to soft ground. So he could be quite ground versatile, I've got a feeling, with August Rodin. We saw what he did at Doncaster towards the back end of last season in really impressive style, stayed on really well. I think the best thing about this, he could be a very ground versatile horse. The one interesting discussion point about the Arc will be Equinox, who was in a different stratosphere last weekend, and just is the new ANTE-POST favourite around 6-7-1. But I just think soft ground, we may see a completely different Equinox.
I'd probably make him 6-1 that he turns up, let alone wins the race.
Yeah, I mean, we know Japan want to win the Arc, don't we? We all know that, but they are going to want... I mean, if the ground came up, it's not going to, but if the ground came up good to firm, then get him there and he'll absolutely hose up. But you're relying in October there to be no rain in Paris, which just never happens. So I'd be a bit questionable there. I would not be taking that. If you've taken any of that, then I'd probably say it was a poor bet at this time. I'd actually imagine you might actually get bigger on the day if he ends up there on soft ground. But yeah, Jack's right. He'd probably 6-1 to actually turn up. So yeah, I'm going to take the 16-1 about August Rodin for the Arc. I don't think it's the worst bet. Like I say, if he wins that derby, he's going to go about 4, maybe 5-1 for the Arc. There's no doubt. So yeah, August Rodin for the Arc. Jack, the final selection.
As I said, like, I could have put up Auguste Rodin for the Derby. Victoria Road for the French Derby was another one I was thinking of. But again, I thought I'd go more left field. It's another one for the Arc, and it's Tunners, or Tunnes. The half-brother to Takata Tasso. I almost think it's too glaringly obvious. I'm so surprised he's 28-1. Really am. He galloped them into submission on soft ground in the German St. Leger, pulled like an absolute train that day and still hacked up. Then won the Prix von Bayern, of course, which Alpinista won last year in very, very good style on testing conditions. I thought he actually ran a really good race in the Japan Cup. He was 9th of 18 that day. He was a touch slow away. He was jostled to the back of the field, had to come the widest of all. Thought he was just about held together. He was a little bit keen, but he actually stayed on in good style. So I don't think the ground was too much of an issue as well. It's probably a little bit more versatile than his form suggests ground-wise. But I think it's so glaringly obvious that he's related to an Arc winner. He handles soft ground. He's won the race that the last year's Arc winner won, and he's still 28-1. I think it's too glaringly obvious for me. He's a German horse, and I think he's going to be overlooked. And he's 28-1 for the Arc. So Tunners is my last selection.
Tunners. Wow. As if Torquato Tasso's ended up getting a mention for the anti-post video.
Ben Bridge and Torquato Tasso in on the first episode.
Can we just mention that Jack actually tipped up Torquato Tasso for the Arc a couple of years back at 80-1? Just a proud moment of the channel, that one. Yeah, look, that'd be an interesting one to follow. Definitely one for the German viewers. If we have any, we'll be following. So hello to all of our German viewers. My final selection is 20-1, and it's in the Ebor handicap. And it's a horse called Laia Kell. Now, it's a bit risky going for one in a handicap at the start of the season, but this horse trained by William Haggis. This horse screams Ebor to me. And listening to what William Haggis had to say about this horse towards the back end of the year on What a Shout, on the Racing Post shows, lovely plug there. He basically said that this could be the plan for next season. Now, he actually won the Lavazza Stakes in good style towards the back end of last year. He then went on to be surrounded by Godolphin horses in the old Rowley Cup at Newmarket. He was well back that day. I think they actually really fancied him, but he didn't get the best of luck in running. He's actually rated 92 at the moment, but he's a far better horse than 92. I'm sure he is. He's in the colours. I think it's of the same colours as Adayeb, which is going to be interesting. You just know that horse is going to end up being a group horse. Try and read it here. Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum, I think, is the name of the owner. But you just know he would have sold this horse probably if he didn't think he was going to be top class, and I've got a feeling he could be up to even listed Group 3 level in time. He's only a 4-year-old. He's 20-1 for the Ebor. You need to be about 100, rated 100, 105 to be in the Ebor. I'm sure he's going to be getting there, and I'll be backing him off a cliff this season. So Laia Kell for the Ebor. God, flew through that. Right. Horse to follow this season. I'll just quickly say a horse that I'm going to be backing off a cliff this season. Jack's already mentioned it, and I'll be backing it in this race as well, is My Prospero. I said it towards the back end of last year as well. I think I came out of the flat season and said that My Prospero was the one that caught my eye, and I'm very excited to see what he can do in the 2023 campaign. So he'd be my one. Jack, what about yourself?
The one for me is probably going to be Ananda, trained by John Gosden, 3-year-old this year, was 4th on debut, really well back, didn't like soft ground, then hacked up over 6 furlongs. I think she's got a 1,000 guineas entry. I don't know if she's going to be that good, but Ananda could be one to keep on the side this year. Okay,
Ananda for Jack. Yeah, I remember watching this horse, was very, very well packed that time, and definitely didn't appreciate the ground. Another horse for next gen followers to follow could be Champagne Piaf. Now, we haven't mentioned this horse's name for a while. Is a next gen horse. We put this horse up for some reason after a Goodwood handicap for the Triumph a few years back. Didn't actually run the flat last year, wasn't seen, but I believe that this horse is still in training, and hopefully we get to see this horse, and we will have the Champagne Piaf alerts on our Twitter if this horse does run. We will make sure of it, and we're very excited by him. Jack, one quick wish for the flat season. If one thing could happen this flat season, what would you want to happen?
I'm not allowed to say it.
Yeah, you go on, just say it, because mine's going to be
I
even
just
worse.
want Primo Baccio to win a race. I don't care what race it is. I just want her to win one. I really do. So that'll be mine. Or Bay Bridge to win the ARC, but I've already put him up. So just Primo Baccio to win a race, please.
If any of Ed Walker's stable staff are watching this, can you please make sure that happens for Jack? And mine, I know this could happen. I spoke to the Roger Varian yard, and a horse stepping up to 7 furlongs could be Dragon Symbol. And I genuinely believe this horse over 7 will be very special. Now, I'm not hoping this horse just wins over 7. There's one thing that I'm hoping for, is that we arrive at Goodwood on the Tuesday of Glorious Goodwood, and suddenly Dragon Symbol turns up and he wins the Lennox Stakes.
Okay, let's finish the video.
That is the dream. That is it, and that is going to happen. And we'll come back to this clip. Dragon Symbol will win the Lennox Stakes. There's no anti-post betting, of course there isn't at this time of the year, but he will win. That is it. Well, that's a great way to end the video with a mention for Dragon Symbol and Primo Baccio. We'll be back in a couple of days' time. Friday morning, you'll get to see our Doncaster preview, along with we'll probably have a few races from Kempton that we'll add into our other selections as well. There's some great racing there as well on Saturday, so do check that out. As always, like, subscribe, share, and do comment with your flat hopes for this season. Any anti-post bets that you've had on the flat this year, we'll be keen to look at those and reply to as many comments as possible. But thanks always for watching. We're looking forward to the flat season, and we'll see you on Friday morning.